Hi. Hi, everyone. It's Asha Ramakrishna. I am your spiritual and business mentor. And today I want to talk about the happiness challenge. Now, this is something that I just started doing, and I've invited the first 20 women who are interested in kind of creating heaven on earth, who know that they have some limitations, whether it's fear or anxiety, and they're really ready to activate their life and really activate the kind of life that they want to be experiencing. So kind of just leading into that, and to just kind of provide people some tools, I wanted to do some webinars based around that topic. Now, the Happiness Challenge is a 3-month program of people working with me basically once a week. But leading up, I just wanted to share some tools. Basically, you know, when I think about myself or my clients, I think the best way the first few steps to really begin this path of living in happiness is to be in the present moment. Like, that's step number one. Really being in the present moment. And I just taught a class this weekend on a method that I use to keep myself in the present moment, and then I utilize this method to go deeper into the present moment, because we can be experiencing the present moment, but there are different levels of it, right? There's a very superficial level of experiencing the present moment, and then there's very intimate, deep way of feeling the present moment. And when I was teaching this class this weekend, the way that I reminded people of what it feels like to be experiencing presence, basically, and what I mean by that is that when we are in the present moment, there's an opportunity for us to experience what's in front of us, but then also to experience ourselves in a more profound way. And the more that we experience ourselves in a more profound way, the more that we can come into who we really are. So the best sort of marker for you to know, well, when am I living in the present moment and when am I not? You know, there's a lot of very intellectual conversations around living in the present moment. You know, there's very beautiful books out there that try to help people achieve this experience. And even though they are beautiful gifts to our world to have these philosophies out there, I think that sometimes intellectualizing an experience can be a detriment, in that we really make it a heady thing, right? We make it like, I'm really trying to be in the present moment, and I don't really think you can, in fact, I know you can't think yourself into the present moment. I know that being in the present moment is an experience. It has nothing to do with our mind. The only thing we have to do is make the choice to be in that. And so how you can kind of, that marker for you, that sort of, so that you can know this moment is feeling like this, you know, like the marker for you. The best thing that I can describe is when you're in front of the ocean. Right? You probably, I'm sure, have experienced being in front of the ocean, and if you haven't, you've probably experienced taking a walk in the woods, or taking a walk in nature, or being in front of a grand lake, and you have this sort of, you feel like something's just fallen off of you, and your mind is instantaneously cleared, and you know, you just really feel a sense of gratitude of this thing that's in front of you, and the magnificence of how amazing it is to have something be made by an unseen loving force, and that you get to experience it. So it's kind of, you know, it's a place of feeling gratitude. It's a place of really feeling everything that's in front of you, and typically you don't start thinking about, like, on what's my shopping list. And if you do that, I would say that you're probably stepping outside of the present moment, and your mind's sort of like, you know, getting on board and trying to have a say. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mind because it's so related to the present moment. And actually today I may not be able to get through the other few points that I wanted to do, but I will definitely be posting them by the end of the week if we don't get through it. This topic of the present moment is a biggie, and I want to make sure that I address it as best as possible. So, the mind. I talk about the mind as, I in our world, in our society, the mind is over idolized. We all revere the mind, our society, our political system, our financial system, our corporate system, our family systems, our educational system, all really revere the mind as the end-all be-all, right? If you're smart and you think things through, then that is the thing that gets the most respect from people. And I think that we've overworked the mind. I see it, the example that I give is like you have a company, and even though you have, say it's a small company and you have 5 employees, but really what you're doing is that you are, so let's say the mind is one of the employees and the other employee is the different senses, seeing, feeling, touching, just experiencing that kinesthetic experience, smelling, what have you, right? And the mind, if you can relate it to our culture, the mind is pretty much doing everyone else's job. They're doing their job and they're also doing everyone else's job, and everyone's just kind of like hanging back, and it's like, I don't know, do you need me? Do you not need me? They kind of stop not really evolving as individuals because someone else is doing their job. And so what ends up happening is the mind is overworked and is in like out of integrity, like the boundaries of it are completely out of line because the mind shouldn't be doing everybody's jobs, right? And what happens when you begin to live a life that is in commitment to being in the present moment, to being in presence, to being the state of who you really are each moment and every day, is that the mind, it's really an invitation for the mind to quiet, right? And when the mind first, for sure at first, when you first ask the mind to quiet down, it really freaks out. It really starts like, kind of, I guess some people can say like it's like the ego, sort of like it starts like saying, well, what do you mean you don't need me? Well, what do you mean you don't want me to do that for you? What do you mean, And it just starts kind of interjecting and trying to get ourselves, and it's trying to get us out of experiencing all the other aspects of who we are. As I said, like feeling, whether it's emotion, different senses, that sort of thing. And part of that process, part of the commitment in staying in the present moment is, being in the present moment is it's a very easy concept, right? It's really about opening up the focus and, even pretending that you're in front of the ocean. And I think even doing that exercise really brings people to that attention of being right here, right now. And it's a simple concept. And the part that requires some practice is this sort of play with the mind. And the play with the mind really becomes a practice of acknowledging the thoughts that come up. And typically what happens is that people have a story of the feeling that you have come up. Let's say you're kind of in the present moment, you're in front of the ocean, and all of a sudden this thought of somebody who really annoys you pops into your head, right? And so then, you have this thought, or typically it starts with a sensation, or maybe it's like you have a sensation and immediately you think of this person, and so you have this visual of this person or this thought of this person, and you kind of start feeling uncomfortable. But typically most of us start going into the story about this person, especially if it's someone who has been bothering you, right? So you think of this person, and then you kind of create a story of like, how dare this person do this to me, or how dare they act like that, or they're this or they're that. And then we keep feeding the story, right? We keep feeding the story, and as we keep feeding the story, we become pretty separated from being who we really are. And so we really come out of the present moment because we're going into some past story or some future story, whatever it is. So the practice for you, if being in the present moment sounds like something pretty amazing, something that you really want to do, then I would recommend that you catch yourself at first. Just catch yourself. When am I going into story? And the alternative to going into story is to just really feel the sensations that are coming up for you. So instead of, jumping immediately to the thoughts and the stories about this person, try to see if you can feel the sensation of what this person triggers in you. Now, this is not about, at least for this part of what I'm talking to you about, this isn't about really the other person. This is really about you and how you're triggered or invited into experiencing something. And I go over this a little bit more for sure when I work with people one-on-one, but like the class that I just gave, which I'll be having that available as an electronic download with worksheets, but it's not available yet. But that's just kind of like the general overview of what you can do to keep yourself in the present moment. One is remember what it feels like to be in front of the ocean. And two, as soon as you have a thought come up or any kind of trigger in your life, which we all have them, that's part of being human, right? Once you have that trigger, to catch yourself before you start going into a story about this trigger or this person, the situation. It can be anything. It can be like even your own financial situation can be a trigger for you. Your family can be a trigger for you. Yourself, you can be a trigger for yourself. Let's say you do something that you don't like doing, but you're kind of let's say you want to establish a new habit, right? Like it's still the beginning of the year. Maybe some of your resolutions are still kind of up in the air or what have you, and they're still up for you. And maybe for some of you, you've already given up, and I hope that that's not the case. I hope that you keep the faith. Faith is really, really, really important for you to have. Heaven on earth, really important. But if there's something that you are wanting to accomplish this year, a New Year's resolutions or a goal or something, and it's still up for you, you're still being triggered by this thing, just, instead of going into the story about how you suck and how you really should know how to do this other thing, soften a little bit with kindness, okay? Soften a little bit with kindness and just experience the sensation of you not being in alignment with what you want. Something else that I'll share with you, I wasn't planning on sharing this with you, but I find this to be really, really powerful, especially if there's something that you are trying to work through or you're trying to really activate in your life. Let's say it's losing weight, or it can be like a health or fitness regimen that you want to establish, whatever, something that you want for yourself. And you see yourself sabotaging yourself. There's some of that. If there's some of that going on, one little thing that you can do, which is really, really helpful, and if you have pen and paper, I highly recommend that you write this down because this will change your life, okay? And it's that you ask yourself the question. So typically, if you're struggling with something, there's a part of you that is wanting one thing, and there's another part of you that's wanting something else, right? Especially when it comes to like weight loss or like, exercise or anything that you want that you feel like a little bit push and pull and you're triggered by. And explore the part of you that wants you to be healthy and fit and looking good, and kind of almost like have that internal conversation with yourself. And then turn to the other part of you that is just really wanting to feel pleasure by eating, you know, cake or a donut, and turn to both of these parts, and it's almost like you don't even, there really isn't a whole lot to negotiate once you turn to each part, and it's almost like they get heard. It seems to resolve itself. Try that and see. I'd love for you to report back to me on that. If you want to send me an email to ashastories@gmail.com, and just doing that exercise alone will be huge. Again, especially if there's something that you're getting triggered by. If you're getting triggered by somebody, like you know, a person that's really annoying you, or someone who's not being very nice to you, there's two things at play for you internally, and I find that this is typically what happens. There's a part of you that wants harmony, and there's a part of you that wants to be respected. And sometimes you may feel like the two are working against one another, but they don't need to be. You can turn to each of them, and in turning to the part that wants to be in harmony and wants to not be in conflict with this person, turn to that part, and you can hear the wisdom from that part of you, and then you can turn to the part of you that wants to be respected and be heard and be acknowledged, and hear the concerns from that side. And just, again, just by doing that very simple exercise, it sort of tends to resolve itself, and you end up making a decision not from a place of fear, or, you know, not being afraid. Like, if we take the example of the exercise, fear would mean that, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this, and, you know, I just need to, like, beat myself a little harder so I can do this, and I would just not recommend that. I don't think it's effective. It might be effective short term, but long term, it's not going to make you a happy person. And so that's one way that fear can look in that scenario. Another piece might be like, you know, the fear might be like, well, if I do this, if I eat this way, or if I exercise this way, or if, you know, I change my life this way, I'm kind of afraid of what's going to happen to feeling like, you know, I love to, like, sit on the couch and watch movies. Like, that's really fun, and I'm afraid, like, I'm not going to get to have that. Or I really love to, like, wake up a little bit later and just have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and I don't want to be waking up at 4 a.m. and, you know, going to exercise or whatever. So different things can come up, and those fears can get in the way of you experiencing heaven on earth. And so the Happiness Challenge is all about you getting to experience heaven on earth, for you to really overcome your fears and anxieties and really activate your purpose, and really activate your sense of belonging here and being you. So first step, being present. Second step to that is catching yourself when you spin into you know, out of the present moment, basically, when you spin into stories, and catching yourself and bringing yourself back and feeling the sensation. So that's all I'm going to share with you today on this Happy Monday, and I will be posting a second video, so be on the lookout for that on the next two steps in truly experiencing heaven on earth. So I hope, if you have questions about the Happiness Challenge, which is a 3-month program, email me at ashastories@gmail.com. All right, I hope that you have a fabulous week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.